Here's something that came up in the Collaborate session today. So we were talking about optimization routines, and one of the things which I suggested to a student was maybe considering changing a series of if-then statements into what you might call a case statement. So if you're familiar with other programming languages or even Excel, VBA type activity, there's something called a case statement that is basically like if you're going to do a series of if then else type questions, you can do that in a select case, and it'll only just drop down to that specific case. It's very quick compared to doing a series of if else, if else, if else. So there's an example here, and I'm actually going to link you. This is the link right here to the Stack Overflow. And what it does is it uses tidyverse, and as part of tidyverse, it's got a feature called mutate. Now, again, if we go to the help desk file on mutate, mutate adds new variables and preserves the existing ones. There's also another feature called transmute, which basically adds a new variable and drops the existing ones. So depending on your use case, you may want to keep those original variables. You may want to drop those variables. Variables that can be removed are removed by setting their value to null. So that kind of gives you some of the idea here. And you can see there's all kinds of parameters which can go onto it as well. Most likely it's used in a section like this. Like if you're going to do a select, a lot of times you'll want to create, there are many times where you could create a new field, and then part of that selection, you're going to use a mutate. So here are several examples of doing that. But in this particular student's example, she had a series of if-else statements, and I'm just going to change over and use the empty cars because the Stack Overflow example used empty cars. And let me kind of show you what the pieces of that are. So we're trying to do timing, so I'm going to wrap it inside of a system time. That's what you see going on right here. Tidyverse uses this pipe syntax, or you can use this pipe syntax with tidyverse. And what it basically allows you to do is to spill over into additional lines and chain a whole series of commands together. So to make this really easy to see, empty cars is the base data frame that we're going to work off of. And then from empty cars, I'm going to execute a mutate on empty cars. And I'm going to create a new field called category. And that category is then going to be defined. That's where you use the case when. So if in empty cars, it's going to have a cylinder of 4, and it's going to have a displacement that is less than the median of the displacement, it's going to return a 4-cylinder small displacement. If it's 8-cylinder and the displacement is greater than the median, it's going to return 8-cylinder large displacement. Otherwise, it's going to return other. So let's just go ahead and run this section of code right here to show you what it looks like. Here is empty cars with the new field that we've just added on. Now there's a bunch of other fields that go along with empty cars. That's why it's filling into the second line right here, the second block right here. But here's kind of the fields that we're adding right here. And you can see it's a new field's been added now called category, and it's either going to be other, 4-cylinder small displacement, 8-cylinder large displacement. And so that's how you can kind of add an additional field. So if we're taking that and we're doing a timing, we simply wrap this in a time right here. And when we run this, this is lightning fast. You can see it doesn't even record 1 second worth of time to execute on that. Larger data sets, it obviously would take a little bit longer. But one of the quick ways which you can do optimization on if-then statement often is to use something like this. Mutate will give you what I'm calling a pseudo case statement. So I wanted to show you that. And also within RStudio, we talked about this last week. If you go here to help, if you go to cheat sheets, you've got data transformation with deployer. The data transformation with deployer, here is the version of the cheat sheet right here, and within there, it's got the mutate function. So again, here we can see kind of the select. Let me see if I can find it real quick. Here's mutate right here. They're doing an example right here of creating an additional field. Within Iris, they're going to take the sepal length plus the sepal width and create a new calculated field as part of it. So that's how you can use mutate, and here is transmute. Transmute drops the original column. And so that kind of gives you that particular example. So if you have any additional questions, please let me know. Otherwise, I thought I'd just share that because that was something that came up in office hours today. Have a good one. Thanks.